Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm gonna make him an offer he can't refuse.
As far back as I can remember, I always wanted to be a gangster.
Don't you understand, George? It's because you were not born.
Film church.
Well, a boy's best friend is his mother.
5 billion people will die from a deadly virus in 1997. The survivors will abandon the surface of the planet. Once again, the animals will rule the world. Excerpts from interview with clinically diagnosed paranoid schizophrenic, April 12, 1990, Baltimore County Hospital.
Hello, and welcome to Film Church Radio, the podcast that treats cinema as a religion. It's Sunday. I'm Brandon.
I'm Lewis.
And we're here to talk about movies. Each week, Lewis and I alternate picking a film for both of us to watch and discuss. This week, we are talking about 12 Monkeys from 1995, directed by Terry Gilliam and starring Bruce Willis, Madeline Stowe, and Brad Pitt. Since this is episode 95 of Film Church Radio, I decided to pick a film from 1995 that neither one of us had seen. And I knew nothing about 12 Monkeys other than the poster. And I've heard the name of it. And that's it, basically. Didn't know anything. Was pleasantly surprised. I've seen a few Terry Gilliam films. Lewis has seen none. This is his first one. Craziness.
That's correct.
But we'll talk more about that here in a little bit. First, we want to say thank you to everybody who has been listening to the show. And if this is your first episode, thanks for being here. Please share us with all your friends. Have them join this commune of film worshipers, and tell them to go to filmchurchradio.com, where they can find us on all the good podcast platforms, and we're also on social media at Film Church Radio. Before we discuss the film, we're gonna do our hymn section / trailer section before the feature sermon, and basically we're just going to talk about other movies we've been watching, singing the praises to or not, depending on what we're talking about. Singing the praises to or blaspheming. Is that can you use that as a verb?
I've never heard it before, but that's not to say that you can't.
Yeah, so what you got for us, Lewis? What have you been dabbling in?
Yeah. Not a lot this week. I watched The Lion in Winter from 1968, which I haven't really been aware of. Recently, with moving back to England, been doing some reading about kings and queens of England and stuff, getting reacquainted with my past. Not my past, my country's past. And was very interested in Henry II. He's a very interesting person. And then found this film directed by Anthony Harvey called The Lion in Winter, starring Peter O'Toole and Katharine Hepburn. And a very young Anthony Hopkins and Timothy Dalton, who played James Bond. And I was like, oh, cool, I'm going to watch this. So I did. It's very talky. It's not a lot of action. There's a lot of people in rooms discussing linear heritage and who will inherit the throne and all that kind of stuff, which it just gets rather boring after a while.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, okay.
It's like those chapters in the Bible where it's just like, so-and-so begot so-and-so, and so-and-so begot so-and-so.
Exactly. And there was a point where it was there's a scene in Friends, and it was kind of like that, where it's like, hey, he knows that we know, but he doesn't know that you know that I know that we know. Okay, I'm losing track of what's even happening in this film. There is a really good scene in a bedroom where characters are hiding behind tapestries and kind of listening in while they're talking about each other, and that was done really well, and I enjoyed that. But it just didn't work for me at all. I think the performances
Yeah.
are really good, but it was very kind of like dull
Yeah.
and just not inventive at all. It was interesting because with it being 68, obviously Hollywood was changing a little bit. So there's a lot more talk of there's talk of like homosexuality, there's, extramarital affairs, all this kind of stuff going on, which I was like, this is interesting to see kind of like Katharine Hepburn, this stalwart of classic Hollywood, calling all the characters bitches and stuff. And I was like, that's cool. But yeah, I don't think it's one that I'll want to necessarily rush back and put in again. It's like 2 and a bit hours as well. It was very long and dull.
Yeah.
Which is a shame. I mean, it's got really good. Yeah, it's got really good reviews on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
My average score of like 4 stars, but just didn't work for me.
Whoever you are out there, if you love this movie, send us an audio clip. We'll post it on the show, and you can sing some praises.
Tell me why I'm wrong.
Yeah,
'cause I'm sure I am, but yeah, and the direction just seemed a bit paint by numbers.
Yeah.
Oh well, you can't win them all.
I hated the blocking.
Can't win them all. And then carrying on the Disney 100 celebration, I took my daughter to see Cinderella from 1950 in the cinemas. Cinderella is like quintessentially Disney. It's like the most perfect kind of princess movie that they've done, I think.
Yeah.
My daughter really liked Cinderella, so she kind of went dressed as Cinderella. And it was great. We had a really good time.
Who played Cinderella? They did a live action version not too long ago.
It was oh geez, I forgot her name. I can picture her. She was in Baby Driver as well. Let me have a look.
The main girl from Baby Driver?
I believe so. Like the love interest that works at the
cafe.
Is it Lily James? Lily James. It's Lily James. So she was Cinderella, which kind of worked. And that's probably the best of the live action remakes.
Yeah.
I would say. Cinderella. It's not terrible, it's quite fun.
I never saw that one. I was just curious not to distract you. She's also in Mamma Mia too. She's really good in that.
Yeah. But the animated one is great. And it's kind of the perfect blend of like the little woodland creatures being their own thing and like the princess story, The animation is really clean and crisp and really well done, Because the week before we were going to see Bambi and that left me very cold. So it was nice to be like, this is why Disney's so great.
Yeah. I do remember for some reason, I mean, I have seen the original Cinderella a lot, but I also watched like Cinderella 2 and 3, I think, several times as a kid. Probably just got them in like a $5 bin or something.
Yeah.
But I guess that's when those movies came out, were like mid 2000s.
Yeah, I think so.
It was like straight to DVD.
Yeah, Cinderella 2 was 2002 and Cinderella 3 was 2007.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so I think I saw Cinderella 2 probably a lot more than Cinderella 3.
Yeah.
And then, Little Mermaid 2 also.
Yeah, we'll have to try and pick some of these out for Mimi to watch because we just stick to the main ones. But I'm sure she would love like Cinderella 2 and stuff.
Yeah, I'm sure you would hate it.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
But I remember there's probably some stuff in Cinderella 2 that's funny, but I do remember quoting Little Mermaid 2 a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was funny.
Is that about Ariel's daughter?
I think so. Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, about her daughter. And she's got like some penguin friends, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we put it on for Mimi to watch once, and I think she quite liked it. I can't quite remember, but
yeah,
I'll have to find Cinderella 2 for her.
Nice. Bring it back.
That's right.
To do it for the podcast.
That's right.
Can you imagine?
I know,
Episode 100, Cinderella 2.
Could happen. But yeah, that was it. I mean, just kudos to the local cinema chains for showing the classic Disney films, even though every time I go, there's only about 4 other people in there. But
that's so weird. It seems like there would be a lot more. Like, I've been listening to Kevin Smith lately on his podcasts, and he's talking about, like, he just bought a movie theater, but he's in New Jersey. He's not in Nottingham, England. And he's like, at, like, all the new movies, there's like nobody there, but then like they show an older movie and it like sells out. But he's also not showing Disney princess movies.
I know. I would have thought though, because especially with it being like recently over the summer holidays, that there would be quite a few people taking their kids to be like, okay, let's go and see, you know, this classic Disney film, and let's go and see this classic Disney film. But nobody's bothered.
I hope it's not a sign that older movies work because older people like going to the movies, and and kids' movies don't work because kids have iPads.
I think the other part to it is I don't think everyone, you know, people aren't as precious about the cinema as I am, and like getting Mimi to kind of be in there and experience it the way, you know, in that sort of way. And if you've got it on Disney Plus, why would you pay £5 to go and watch the same movie?
Yeah.
You know, I feel like that's kind of part of it as well, because everything is available on Disney Plus. So
yeah.
Because they're going to go see Super Mario. That's done really well.
Well, yeah. You're right.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that Disney Plus has got, you know, it's too big. People are just not bothered.
Yeah.
But, oh well. We're enjoying them. So these are moments that, like, you know, I'll remember. So
yeah,
I'm glad they keep going. What about you? What have you been watching?
Well, I was looking at my letterboxd, and it didn't look like I had anything new to talk about other than like the movies that, like the movie we're talking about today. But I scrolled back a few months, and I think there's some movies here that I didn't talk about.
Cool.
Just because we did like a few special episodes, and so I didn't talk about some of the movies in between. I don't think I told you that I watched Ghost World.
No, I don't think you did. When was that?
I watched it like July 1st.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I had Criterion Channel at the time. I'll pay for it every once in a while.
Yeah. And
try to watch as much as I can just for a month. And yeah, Ghost World was on there, and Sarah and I watched it. And yeah, I mean, for people who don't know, like one of our first episodes, because we started the podcast in like, well, we really started getting the podcast going in like December of 2021.
Mm-hmm.
And every January 1st, we talk about like our favorite movies that we watched, like new movies that new to us that we watched throughout the year, like new discoveries. Ghost World, I think, was one for you in 2021. It was like one of your top 5. So obviously it's been on my list for a while, but I finally watched it, and yeah, super good movie.
Mm-hmm.
Really
I'm glad
great.
you liked it. Yeah, it's that kind of aimless, like, you know, young adult, what do I do with my life?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Which I think resonates with me. So
yeah.
I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah, and such I don't know, it's weird, like these movies that came out in like, this came out in 2001. You know, it feels like that wasn't that long ago, but it was.
No. Yeah,
you
it's
know,
20 plus years ago.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I really enjoyed that a lot. I watched The Quick and the Dead, the Sam Raimi movie. It was okay. It's a Sam Raimi Western. It's very Sam Raimi-y.
Yeah.
As in like his style and shots and stuff. It is interesting because it's got a young Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oh. Okay.
But yeah, at the end of the day, I mean, it's called The Quick and the Dead,
Yeah.
Sam Raimi is the creator of Evil Dead.
Yeah.
And I kind of, based on the name, I was like, I hope this is a Western movie with zombies in it.
That'd have been cool.
But it's not.
Yeah. And that cast is stacked.
Yeah, that's the thing
Wow.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Sharon Stone, Gene Hackman, Russell Crowe, Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah. I mean, just that, just those four.
Yeah.
Really.
And I mean, yeah, all the performances are really great. I will watch it again. I mean, I bought it on DVD. And there is a lot of really great stuff in it. I think it will improve for me over time.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, just on the first watch I was like, this isn't exactly what I wanted, but that's the thing, is once you get over your own stuff that you're putting on a movie, you can start enjoying things for what they are, I think.
Yeah.
That's why you got to watch movies more than once.
Mm-hmm.
But Leonardo DiCaprio as he basically is like a young Rick Dalton.
Yeah.
Like his character, the way he acts and stuff. So that's pretty fun too.
Mm-hmm.
Also from 1995.
Wow.
This is our 95 episode, y'all. I also watched But I'm a Cheerleader, which I don't think I talked about.
No.
This movie is from 1999, stars Natasha Lyonne, and it's like a coming-of-age LGBTQ movie.
Okay.
Really, really good. I think I also watched it on Criterion. Yeah, just a lot of it. It's that same thing as like Ghost World. That same kind of like teenager, young adult trying to figure out their place in the world. And it's got a lot of really great comedy because it's about. I mean, it's also a bit of a tragedy, I guess, because it's like it's some heavy subjects. It's about Natasha Lyonne's character, and all of her family knows that she's lesbian, but she doesn't. And so her family like have this intervention with her, and they're like, "You're a lesbian. We're sending you to this lesbian camp to kind of like get you better."
Yeah.
And she's like in denial or whatever. But I would highly recommend. I give it 4.5 stars.
Yeah,
Very
adding
good.
it to my watch list. That's awesome.
I don't think I talked about Gator, did I?
I don't think so. It doesn't sound. It rings a bell.
It's
Burt Reynolds.
Burt Reynolds, dude. And yeah, my father-in-law suggested this one night. It was on Tubi, and I really enjoyed it a lot. I didn't realize till after it was over that it is the sequel to. I'm taking my time saying this because I'm like, what is it the sequel to again? The other famous Burt Reynolds movie.
White Lightning?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Is that right? Or is White Lightning the third one? I don't know. It's weird when people do this and you don't know anything about them. It's like with the Fast and Furious movies. Like if you don't know, how are you going to know which one to watch first? Anyway, it's but I had no idea. It didn't matter. Like you didn't need to see White Lightning. I haven't seen White Lightning. I'll probably go back and watch it at some point because I really enjoyed this. Gator is the character's name, so that's why it's called that. And Burt Reynolds directed it. I think it might be his directorial debut, but it's just a blast. It's just like a mid-70s action movie that is just like really fun. The stunts are all really good. Like the stunts are pretty crazy. Like the whole opening sequence to the movie is him in the swamp on on a boat, just like
Yeah.
outrunning the cops. And you can tell everything is real. And like
Yeah.
the stunts they do are like insane.
Yeah.
You're like, how did someone not die making this movie?
I mean, even the poster, just looks like a James Bond film.
Yeah.
It's like the
yeah,
live and
kinda.
let die kind of thing. And Gator McCluskey
Yeah, that's his name.
the best name ever. But it's a name that you can hang a series on, which I'm sure that's what they were trying to do.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll talk about names in the main part of the episode because I've got some problems. But Gator McCluskey is a great name.
Yeah. Gator McCluskey. Yeah, man. Like,
You just picture Burt Reynolds. That's the only person that could be called Gator McCluskey.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Are there any alligators in it?
No.
Oh, that's a shame.
I could have just read my own review here. I'd say that it's. I couldn't remember because I watched this like a month and a half ago. But yeah, sequel to White Lightning. I enjoyed the stunts and Bert's crazy over the top performance. That was the other thing. I haven't really seen him in a film with where his acting is kind of.
Good.
I don't want to say that, but it was just like different, you know?
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
like him being a little bit weird and like he gets really drunk in a part, like, he gets like drugged and then he's like trying to stay awake and he just starts acting super like funny.
Yeah.
My father-in-law said this was the first movie he ever saw at the movies. And now he wants to start a punk band called Gator McCluskey.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
It's a really good name.
I really hope that I didn't actually talk about these movies.
You didn't. I haven't. None of them ring a bell. But I mean, obviously, I've seen Ghost World, but you know, in terms of you seeing them,
Because sometimes I'm like, did we already have this conversation?
we didn't.
But yeah, I think that's it. I'm looking at everything. So
Awesome.
some recommends there for you.
Some good stuff.
But yeah, I think that's it on our hymns. And now it's time for our feature presentation. The future is history. In the year 2035, convict James Cole reluctantly volunteers to be sent back in time to discover the origin of a deadly virus that wiped out nearly all of the Earth's population and forced the survivors into underground communities. But when Cole is mistakenly sent to 1990 instead of 1996, he's arrested and locked up in a mental hospital. There he meets psychiatrist Dr. Catherine Rayleigh and patient Jeffrey Goines? Is that his name?
It is.
The son of a famous virus expert who may hold the key to the mysterious rogue group, the Army of the 12 Monkeys, thought to be responsible for unleashing the killer disease.
It just reminded me of Anchorman with the "I'm Ron Burgundy."
True. Yeah, so first time seeing this film. First Terry Gilliam movie for you.
Correct.
Did you know anything about this movie, and then what did you think?
I knew nothing about this movie.
What were your expectations going in?
I knew nothing. I didn't know until I looked at the cast list that Brad Pitt was in this movie. Obviously, I think I knew that Bruce Willis was in it, but I seem to get this mixed up with The Fifth Element. I think when I was like thinking about these movies, they seem very similar in my head. And I think they came out similar times, and Bruce looks the same in kind of both. I mean, he looks the same from now on, really, but with his little bald head. But I didn't really know what to expect. I knew that Terry Gilliam was a director that likes to take the view on a bit of a trip.
Yeah.
And like really kind of, I don't know, like the imagination is part of his thing, you know, like as big as it can get.
Yeah.
So I was looking forward to seeing it, and I don't think it didn't disappoint. I think that there's a lot in here that's really interesting. And then, you know, the further you get into it, the more the questions that I had at the beginning that I was like, I'm not sure if this is working, was kind of incorporated into the story.
Right.
You know, so I did think that it was really well crafted and really well made. And then it just clicked at the end, kind of what it reminded me of. And then I think that I appreciated it a lot more. Because this is your first time seeing it as well, but you've seen Gilliam films, so how did that? I mean, Time Bandits, you suggested, because when the Criterion sale was on, I asked you and Zach, friend of the show, for just like a blind buy for me. Just choose the Criterion for me to purchase, and you chose Time Bandits.
Yeah. Time Bandits is really great, but kind of for different reasons. It didn't... like, I've seen Time Bandits, and I've seen Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, which I don't think... I mean, I haven't ever watched them, like, back-to-back, but I don't think there's a lot of crossover. Plus, he did, like, Monty Python. And that might be it. And like, so between Monty Python, Time Bandits, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, like you don't, unless you're looking for it, I don't necessarily think there's like an easy thread to make there.
Yeah.
But then this movie, I think, does kind of create a thread a little bit, especially in like the filmmaking style. I was like, okay, there's a lot of Dutch angles, a lot of low angles, a lot of weird angles, which I think are both in Fear and Loathing and Time Bandits. Maybe less so in Time Bandits, but yeah, I mean, he's a director who I would like to kind of check out his whole filmography now, you know?
Yeah.
And then also when the film started, it says at the beginning that it's based on the short film La Jetée.
Yeah.
I think it's from like 1962 French New Wave film, which I have seen. I'd kind of forgotten about it, but I watched it. And I think in my French New Wave class that I took for film school. So I kind of knew what to expect a little bit. After I saw that, I was like things were coming back to me. I was like, okay, so this is probably where it's going. This is what's happening. Didn't take away from the movie at all, because it's a really great movie, very intriguing and entertaining throughout the whole thing. I had a blast with it.
That's awesome.
And yeah, I mean, I don't think it tops Fear and Loathing necessarily. I think that's probably, in my mind, his best film.
Yeah.
But it's also like a cult classic, and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas is just absolutely insane.
I know. Yeah, I think I tried to watch Fear and Loathing after a night out when I was at university, and it made me feel sick because the camera, you know, it's always moving. It's kind of big, distorted close-ups. So I only watched about 20 minutes, and I was like, okay, I need to turn this off because I'm going to be the room is already spinning without this.
Yeah, that happened to me the first time I watched it too, because I think I was also on substances, and it's like, it's not a movie to watch.
No.
On substances, it's like it's the movie that will make you feel like you're on substances without any. So,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what you stone cold. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So, but yeah, I mean, obviously Johnny Depp is incredible in that film, but yeah, I mean, the thing, as this movie went on, 12 Monkeys, like the thing that stood out to me was just Bruce Willis's performance.
Interesting.
I was like, you know, because like, obviously he's a good actor.
Yeah.
You know, and like, there's a reason he's a movie star. But when I think of him in my mind, he's like more of a movie star
Yeah.
than an actor.
Yeah.
Just when I,
hmm
when I hear the name Bruce Willis,
Yeah.
I think movie star. But you go back and watch his movies, and it's like, oh no, he's a really good actor. You
Yeah.
know, it's like, he's giving a performance, and I mean, we were just talking about like Arnold Schwarzenegger, who is a movie star,
Yeah.
more than an actor.
Yeah.
He's not necessarily a bad actor, but he's not like,
He couldn't play Hamlet.
yeah, he's not like
Yeah.
drooling and crying and like
Yeah.
bleeding his heart out. He's just a movie star,
Yeah.
action hero.
hmm
And Bruce Willis is also a movie star and an action hero, but he's also a good actor. And I think
Yeah.
this is one of his best performances that I've seen.
Wow. See, I kind of went a little bit the opposite way. I
Really?
didn't think he was as good as I've seen him in other stuff compared to, and I think that's just in comparison to Brad Pitt. I think when he's on the screen,
Yeah.
it's like a different game. He just kind of becomes a different person, which for a movie star as big as Brad Pitt is very hard to do. And I know this is kind of earlier in his career, so he kind of has a bit less baggage to bring with him. Whereas I feel like it's always Bruce. And I think that, and also it doesn't help that he's got the most boring, bland name for a character that's ever been invented, James Cole.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, even Jeffrey Goins is like more memorable than James
Right.
Cole,
Yeah.
which is just like, okay. Something better could have been dreamed up for
Come
that.
up.
Yeah. And I wonder if that's maybe some kind of influence from like Jeté. I wonder if that's, there's a character in there that's got a similar name and
Possibly,
they
yeah.
kept it. But yeah, I didn't think Bruce was brilliant.
I think that the scene that stood out to me, there's like a scene where they're driving in the car. It's that whole thing where he's like, they're driving when they first get in the car and they're on their like road trip to wherever they're going. And he's like hearing the music. He's like all excited about the music. And I mean, the conversation goes to a bunch of different places because he's like, going crazy.
Yeah.
But I don't know. There's something about his performance in that car scene where I think it just seemed like the emotion was real.
Yeah.
Coming from him, No, really enjoyed it. What's your favorite? What do you think is his top like performance in your mind?
I mean, performance is hard because, my favorite role of his is obviously Die Hard, the first one, John McClane.
Mm-hmm.
But that is part of his persona. It's kind of like the put upon,
right?
Hard man. There's a few that I've been surprised in. I think Sixth Sense is a remarkable performance. I think that's a very kind of understated and like emotional performance.
Yeah.
Which I don't see you like get too much of that normally. I'm just having a look through, and I think honestly, Sixth Sense might be it. Might be the one that I'm like, okay, that's probably for me his best, and I know that's very cliche and kind of whatever. I mean, Pulp Fiction again is great, but it's still the
that
put upon hard man.
persona.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of playing into that a little bit.
Yeah, I was just curious.
But I mean, I'm not saying that like that's a bad thing, because I love the Die Hard films, even 2 and 3. I'm a big fan of the whole first 3, especially. I think they're great. And then 12 Monkeys is good. Looper is a really good film as well. He's had a really good career.
Yeah.
But it all seems to be similar.
Yeah. I've never seen Looper.
It's good. Yeah, it's really good.
So what did you think of Brad Pitt?
I thought he was brilliant. I think that he kind of steals the show with how much he leans into the performance and just kind of lets. I don't know how much of it was direction, how much was him, but like the little tweaks and kind of like movements and stuff were really interesting. I feel like I was watching him every time he was on screen. And then when he kind of disappears for the middle third, you're like, I want more Brad Pitt. Like, where is he? What's he doing? You know, where's he going?
What is he up to?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's funny we went a different way with it. Because, I mean, I did like him, but, you know, after his first scene, I was like, I get it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's good. He's an amazing actor. I'm not trying to say that, you know, he wasn't enjoyable, because he was. But I don't know, maybe just in retrospective of like Bruce Willis and, you know, the fact that we're not going to see him in this kind of role again. I was just more interested in like continuing to watch Bruce.
Yeah.
And you know, and Brad Pitt's character is, I mean, that's a role to die for. Like, you know, it's just there's so much to do. It's so fun. Yeah, and he did an amazing job. And yeah, his eye thing is like is on point. Like, he just kind of transforms.
I feel like this is a very big year. I mean, 1995 was also the year of Seven, so I think it's that kind of taking him and out of just being a good actor into like superstardom.
Yeah.
You know,
leading man.
Yeah. I doubt that if Seven had been, you know, this had been made any later, that he would probably be in this role.
Yeah.
You know.
True.
But I mean, he does everything he can to steal it.
Yeah. And kind of does.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think so. But it's hard not to, you know, with both of them though. I mean, the blend of mentally unwell and mentally stable is blurred the whole way through.
Yeah.
You're never quite sure if they're telling the truth or not, and then the film, and that's what I was alluding to earlier, you know, when you're watching it, you're like, well, Bruce isn't really helping himself here because he seems crazy.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, every interaction he seems crazy, and I was like, well, that's not really helping. And then later on, he's like, I'm crazy. None of this is real. You're like, oh, okay, so it was all meant to be, you know, we're meant to think that instead of it just being a weird performance. And then on the opposite side with Brad Pitt, when he's in, you know, when Bruce is in bed and stuff, and he's like, I've let them know my father's going to come and break me out, blah, blah, blah. And you're like, okay, that sounds really crazy. And then it turns out that he did. That was true, you know?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So it's never really like
you can't really trust.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Who is mentally unwell? We don't know.
Yeah.
Is anybody?
Yeah, I think the scene that they kind of shine together in is at the dinner party.
Yeah. That
whole sequence was really interesting to me, where because Brad Pitt almost seems like normal.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the most normal he is in the whole movie, I guess, until you get to the climax of that scene where he, you know, goes off the wall again. But yeah, their whole interaction throughout that scene, going up the stairs and everything. I mean, I felt like Bruce was like matching his crazy in his performance, you know, throughout that whole thing. So yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed watching them together. Because I mean, I don't think they're in anything else like
it's
together like this.
It's great when two careers kind of cross like this, especially where they are in their careers. You know, Bruce is obviously, I wouldn't say on the decline, but it's kind of, you know, he's
like the biggest star in the world.
Yeah,
one of the biggest stars.
And then Brad Pitt's on his way to take that mantle. You know.
Yeah.
I think we also have to give credit to Madeleine Stowe as well. I think that her performance is really good.
Yeah, I couldn't. She seemed so familiar to me.
Yeah,
but I had to look at her filmography, and I couldn't figure out why. Because
I know I was looking through, and I'm surprised that there's not more, you know, big hitters in there. It seems to be kind of, you know, I don't know, like lesser known films starring bigger people. You know, obviously Last of the Mohicans is really popular, but then the rest is kind of, you know, bits and bobs and other things.
Yeah.
So very strange.
Yeah, but she was great. I mean, she like her character was really fun to watch too, because she's very straight in the beginning, and by the time you get to the end of the movie, she's like tie this guy up, and you know, she's like,
yeah, exactly. Here's a
she's just like-
disguise, and we're gonna go and get him. Yeah,
she's just she just goes full tilt by the end, and it's fun to watch.
It is fun.
That whole scene with them in the bedroom, and the pimp comes in and stuff, like that whole thing was crazy. She was really good in that scene.
Yeah, she was. I like how he just drags her to the most like dangerous situations possible throughout the whole film. She's constantly being put in the way of danger. And she's still like, this is a man I can trust.
Yeah, for real. All I see are dead people.
I wrote that in my notes as well. Had to double check when Sixth Sense was released to see if it was like a nod, but it's after, isn't it? It's 1999, so 4 years after.
I busted out laughing when he said that, and I was like, really? Did they really just go there? And then I was like, wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
What?
Crazy.
It's like such a weird thing, you know?
Yeah.
All I see are dead people.
It's said, I know it seems to be like a throwaway line, but it seems to hang for a second as if it is like an in-joke. You know, like, you know, on like a sitcom where they bring someone big in and they have like a line like that. And it's like a break for the audience to go, oh, I see what you did there.
It's the way that it's cut, too, because it just, there's an action scene going on.
Yeah.
And then she's like, you killed him. And then it cuts to Bruce, and he says, all I see are dead people. And
wink,
that's
wink.
the shot. Yeah, it's like a wink.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's very strange.
So bizarre.
Yeah, one of those weird situations in history where it just kind of works out like that, but wasn't necessarily meant to. It's probably just left for a bit of a laugh.
And strange because this is a movie about time travel.
Yeah.
And here we are quoting movies that haven't been made yet, winking at
Weird.
the audience. Here's what's to come. Get ready for my best performance yet.
I know. It's very strange.
It's so weird.
Yeah. Oh dear. But yeah, it's one of those weird moments where it kind of got me sitting up again. I was like, what did he just say? That's Haley Joel Osment's line.
Yeah.
This is kind of where it kind of tried to make sense. So the whole psychiatrist falling in love with the patient stuff, and then the Hitchcock festival that they go to, and they watch parts of Vertigo. There's a Hitchcock film called Spellbound with Ingrid Bergman where this pretty much happens. There's a doctor that comes to a mental institution, and she's like a doctor there, and he says he's like the new head physician, but then he kind of confesses that he's killed the head physician. He's just like an imposter taking his place. And it's kind of like, is he crazy? Did that actually happen? Is he the real person? You know, and she kind of falls in love with him, you know, on this way of the story. And then when they went to the Hitchcock Festival, I was like, man, this is just, it's like that. That's kind of part of the story.
Yeah.
And it's like a big nod to it. And it made a lot more sense. It was kind of, it pulled it together. Like that side of the story, because all the way through I was like, why? What is she doing? Like he is so unstable. He's so like, who even is he? And she's just blindly following him. But then that side made sense. It's like, you know, when we did Brian De Palma, we talked about him like heavily being influenced by Hitchcock and stuff.
Yeah,
I like that this was a bit more reserved and not so nudge, nudge, wink, wink. Yeah. Because it would have been one thing for them to have been watching Spellbound, and you would have been like, oh, okay, there it is. But it's still like unsaid.
Well, they watch Vertigo, right?
They do, yeah. They watch Vertigo, and then she puts on a blonde wig and changes.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah.
And there's like a red light shining on her, and in Vertigo it's green. So it's kind of, slightly changed, but a bit different. Yeah, there's a lot of influences there, but I was like, yay, Vertigo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I figured you would like that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was interesting because when they start falling in love, the thing that I was thinking about was the fact that we watched RoboCop last week.
Yeah.
And RoboCop is such a, like, it subverts your expectations a lot, I think, in terms of, like, especially there's no, like, romance story. Like, the female character in that doesn't just fall in love with the main guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in this, I was just kind of like, wow, this feels very Hollywood. Especially for Terry Gilliam, who is so anti-Hollywood, I feel like.
Yeah. It doesn't need to, she just needs to believe him. She doesn't need to be in love with him for this to work.
Yeah. But it does, and, if you're trying to create, I think he was trying to create kind of a more classic Hollywood film.
Yeah.
From La Jetée, which I think there is a love interest in that too. So maybe that's part of it. Is he's trying to bridge the gap between this, what he's trying to do and keeping true to the original as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, I think the Hollywood stuff, like the classic Hollywood stuff, I agree with until the end. The ending is very anti-Hollywood. I mean, they don't succeed. It's not a happy ending.
Yeah.
Which it leaves you kind of like, well, it's inevitable. This is something that you can't really...
There's a paradox going on.
Yeah, you're not going to be able to write this however many times you try.
Yeah.
You'll just be stuck in the same sequence of events.
Yeah.
Going forward, which compared to other films, especially, lately we've had like all these multiverses and stuff that are breaking off. It's quite refreshing to see something that's like, no, like there's, this is the rule. Is if you come, like, it's inevitable. It's not, you can't really change it.
Yeah.
You feel like Bruce Willis' character is just constantly stuck in this loop of like seeing himself die and then growing up and then being the chosen one and then seeing himself die and, constantly going through it.
Yeah, the thing that I didn't, maybe it's in there, but the thing that I didn't make a connection to was in the beginning, the psychiatrist character, what's her name again? The Madeline
Dr.
Stowe character.
Catherine Rayleigh.
Yeah, so in the beginning, she's like, when she first meets Bruce Willis, she's like, I've seen him before somewhere. I don't know. He seems so familiar. But I'm like, where did she see him?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I thought it was going to be when he came back, I was like, okay, it's going to go back to like further in the past.
Right, yeah.
But he goes to the future. It goes to 96.
Yeah.
So, yeah, but maybe that's part of it's inevitable.
Maybe, yeah.
Like, in a different life, she's seen him.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like the constant ticking of time. I do have one big gripe with the ending.
Okay.
In just that they would never let that guy board that plane.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, if he's running through the airport with a man with a gun behind him, they would be like, okay, we need to ask you some questions as to what was going on. Yeah. And then it just goes and he's like, I made it.
Yeah. But, I mean, it's pre-9/11.
It is. Yeah, but
So
still, I was like, okay.
Yeah, it was a little...
But, I mean, that's also classic Hollywood. There's, like, lots of stuff in there you just have to look past for the benefit of the story.
Yeah. Yeah, because, I mean, if this was like a movie from 1950, you would be like, okay.
Yeah. Oh, he's got on the plane. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Christopher Plummer. Yeah. As Daddy Warbucks. He's amazing.
He is good.
Bro, he's just like such a natural.
Yeah. And he's only in it for like 10 minutes.
I know.
Yeah.
But like his whole scene where he's like, better increase the security or whatever. And he's like, and he like pats the guy on the shoulder. He's like, beef him up.
Yeah.
I just thought his lines were so great.
Yeah. I really like David Morse as well, who plays the doctor who does get on the plane.
Oh yeah.
He's a really everything he's in. I feel like he's good in it. He's a really good character actor. You know, I know he was in like Hurt Locker, and Disturbia, which is also very Hitchcockian, where he plays like the next door neighbor. And obviously Green Mile. But he's great. And when he showed up, I was like, cool, I like that guy. Nice to see some familiar faces kind of doing the jobs.
Did you notice one more familiar face from a film that we watched?
Oh my God.
Like a month ago, called Batman.
I did not. Who was that?
I didn't notice until like a little bit later in the movie. Frank Gorshin.
Okay.
Who plays the Riddler.
The Riddler, yeah.
Yeah. He's like one of the head doctors at the institution.
Weird.
He's the one where when they're like looking in the room when he disappears from like the prison cell, and he's like looking in there and he does that thing with his lip where he's like well, he's like trying to figure out what's going on.
Yeah. Weird.
I was like, wait a minute. That's the freaking Riddler, dude.
Oh man. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, he was gross.
Yeah, and it wasn't even that scene that I noticed. It was like later on when he's... It was like way later. It was like one of the last scenes that he's in when he's with the psychiatrist. I keep forgetting her name. And the Madeline Stowe character.
Yeah,
and she's like, but how did this happen? And she's like trying to, and he's like trying to rationalize the situation. There's something he did with his cigarette. He like gets a cigarette out, and then I recognized him. I was like,
okay, yeah,
that's the Riddler.
Yeah,
but it's like the last scene that he was in. It took the whole movie.
Man, it didn't even click for me at all. So,
well, I've seen Batman a lot more than you have. I think,
yes.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just weird to see him pop up there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I do like the kind of duality of like they're in mental institutions and they're trying to free animals from zoos. And then, we get the animals taking over the world. It's kind of, there's that saying, isn't it? The inmates are taking over the world. Or the asylum.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, that was a very well-written metaphor, I think. It was nice that was in there.
Yeah, well, also just like, it's interesting because it was like, the beginning of the movie is like a dystopian future. Yeah. Where they're like living underground in these little prison cells. Mm-hmm. And then he goes to the past, to 1995, and it's modern time. Yeah. At the time this came out, this was just today. Mm-hmm. But he's in a mental institution. And it's the same feeling. It almost feels like nothing changed. Yeah. And you're like, wait, maybe
it's not so different.
Yeah, maybe it's not so different. Yeah. Maybe we got some issues to work out here.
Yeah. I do love the world building around kind of the past and the present. Like I love the steam and the dripping pipes and it's very alien. And then even when he's when she first comes in, he's kind of drooling in his cell. That is very alien too. It's like very futuristic and dystopian and grimy and horrible and not great. And then the camera work seems to when they go to the mental hospital, the camera work changes. It does the kind of like the close-up kind of swing where it just goes from side to side all the time. Yeah. It's constantly in motion. You're always at kind of, like you said, like a Dutch angle. You're always moving at some point and not quite straight on. And then when it's just Bruce Willis and Madeline Stowe in like cars and stuff, it's very stable and kind of natural angles. It makes you feel very disoriented when you're in that position.
That's interesting, yeah. Cool.
And plus, it feels like it does feel like a mental institution that we've seen before. It feels very One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yeah.
You know, the room and the TV and all the patients kind of just sitting there, you know.
Yeah.
There's a really great film called Shock Corridor, which takes place in a mental institution, which I recommend people kind of check out. It's got similar themes to this. There's a reporter that gets admitted to a mental institution to kind of write an article, I guess, do some research and like interview the people. I think some of it is based on like real testimonies because there's a lot of people kind of giving their story. But yeah, that is really interesting. Directed by Samuel Fuller from 1963.
Okay.
Very interesting, and that's what kind of the mental institution scenes made me think of most. Was this film?
Nice.
It's on the Criterion Channel at the moment, so if you've got it, you can watch it.
Do it. Yeah, I don't have it right now, but I'll add it to the list.
Yeah. And the obsession with old cartoons. I feel like every time there's a TV on, it was like an old cartoon playing.
I didn't really notice that
stuff. Yeah. Again, might be reading too much into it. I'm not really sure. But I do wonder if because all the cartoons there are about like animals, anamorphic type people, whether it's kind of just preempting the animals taking over the world.
Yeah.
Because it's all the classic kind of Looney Tunes stuff.
Yeah, well, I thought that like the monkeys were gonna have a disease that like got out.
Yeah. But it's not that at all.
No.
Did they say why they were doing it? I might have missed it. I'm not sure if it.
There was just like a throwaway line where she was like, when they're in the airport, and she's like, "This guy has," I forget what she said. She's like, "He's, I don't know, obsessed with ending the world or something." She said something along those lines.
Weird.
And it's like,
I do like that it wasn't Brad Pitt. I mean, because again, it makes you question our, our view of people with mental health issues. Just like all the way through, you're like, oh, it's going to be him that's doing it. He's in charge. He's going to do it, but it's not.
Yeah.
His is more environmental and more friendly.
Yeah.
You know, it's his Daddy Warbucks.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, there's a lot to unpack with this movie.
Which I was surprised at because I feel like I feel like when I went in, I was expecting a kind of trippy, run-of-the-mill Contagion story. And it wasn't that at all.
No.
You know, there's a lot in there that's social commentary for today and, questioning our own beliefs and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah.
I like a film that makes me think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think more to come on future watches.
Definitely. Yeah, there's more in there to unpack.
So what's your next Terry Gilliam film?
It's going to be Time Bandits, for sure. I did buy it, so it is on my list. I do, after talking about it, I do want to try Fear and Loathing again.
Yeah.
But all of them, really. I mean, I haven't seen Monty Python. And as an Englishman, that's a crime. Yeah,
bruh.
So don't say it too loud because I might get arrested.
There's people screaming at you right now.
I know. It's crazy. So that is going to be also on my to-watch list.
Yeah. Aaron, my brother-in-law, sent me a text a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
He was listening to one of our episodes, and he was like, Lewis hasn't seen The Matrix?
I know. I've got some huge gaps in my filmography.
We all do.
Yeah. That's part of Film Church, though.
Yeah. That's why
off.
we're here.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's definitely screaming at you right now because Life of Brian is like one of his favorite movies ever.
Yeah. Sorry.
we got to do maybe we should do a Monty Python.
Maybe. Yeah, that would be fun.
Like do all of them.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right. Do you want to guess what we rated 12 Monkeys on Later. How many monkeys out of 12?
Oh God, I'm gonna have to do the maths. I think you rated it 10 monkeys out of 12, which equates to 4 out of 5.
I think that you rated it math. 9 monkeys out of 12, which is 3.5, I think.
I rated it 4 out of 5.
Nice.
Yeah,
same.
cool. Okay, great.
4 out of 5 is kind of my default when I'm like, this was a really good movie.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna rush to go back and watch it, but I will watch it again, and I really liked it.
yeah. I mean, 4 kind of is that magic round of there was a lot in here for me to unpack. I don't think it all made sense yet, but I had a blast watching it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Really good
4
movie.
is good. Yeah, a lot of the. Maybe I have to rethink my scoring a bit. I seem to go 4 a lot. Oh well, I like.
I mean,
4.
there's a lot of 4s out there.
There are a lot
What
of
can
4s
you
out
do?
there. That's right.
Well, cool, dude. So, what's up with next week? What are we doing?
Yeah, well, you know what next week is, Brandon?
What?
It's October the 1st, which means things are going to get a little spooky around the Film Church Radio broadcast tower for the next 5 episodes. We're going to return to our Darnish Horror Month.
Ooh.
Yeah, for the whole month of October, culminating in a very special 100th episode.
Yes.
More details on that soon. So I decided to pick a film that I have been obsessed with seeing for most of this year. I believe last year was its 30th anniversary. I'm blinking heavily.
Okay.
Yes. So last year was its 30th anniversary. And since then I've been like, I need to see this movie. It looks like something that I would absolutely love. So next week we're going to be watching Bram Stoker's Dracula from 1992, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. And I know you love Coppola. So
Yes.
we're going to have a lot to talk about, I'm sure. Kicking off the month in style.
And Gary Oldman.
Oh, yeah. And Winona Ryder, and Keanu Reeves, and Anthony Hopkins, and Richard E. Grant. We're going to have a good time.
Yes. Sweet. Well, get ready for that, everybody. It's horror time.
Oh, baby.
But that does bring us to the end of this episode. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram at Film Church Radio, or you can follow us individually on Letterboxd. I am at Selman Scope, and Lewis is at Walker Lewis 3007, and there you can keep up with what we've been watching on a daily basis. We also have all of our back episodes streaming on Barbie's Back, and please leave us a rating and review. To let us know if you liked the film, and if you didn't, let us know what we should watch instead. Thank you for being here. We hope to see you next Sunday for more Film Church Radio. The only thing left to say is, I'm here about some monkeys.
Monkeys?
Monkeys, yes, 12 of them. See you next week, folks.
Amen.
Amen.